And welcome back to the Madden 20 Carolina Panthers franchise. We are at the first quarter mark of the season already. Through the first 4 weeks, Carolina sits at 2-2. You can see in the NFC South, the Falcons are off to a 4-0 start. The Saints are 3-1. Panthers 2-2. Buccaneers at 1-2. Tampa Bay with an early bye week this year. But those are the NFC South standings. We'll look at the NFL standings here real quick. As you can see, the undefeated teams still remaining are the Ravens. I've been looking at the Ravens scores on I guess the bottom line, you could say, while I'm playing these games in franchise, and they've been blowing teams out. So the Ravens are looking like a strong team at 4-0, Falcons 4-0, and the Rams 4-0. So those are the three undefeated teams in the NFL. We'll look at the division standings again. Ravens 4-0, Bengals at 2-2, Browns at 2-2. So the defending NFL champions off to a slow start this year in Cleveland, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are 0-4. They didn't make the playoffs the last 2 years in a row. And you start to wonder about Mike Tomlin, what his job security is looking like right now. He's definitely got to be on the hot seat, as it's looking like, unless there's just a miracle finish for the Steelers, it's looking like they're going to miss the playoffs for the third straight year. AFC South, the Jaguars at 3-1, Houston 2-1, Titans and Colts at 2-2 apiece. Of course, the Colts still have Andrew Luck in this game, as I started this franchise before he retired. We'll look at the AFC East. The Patriots, they've got Jacoby Brissett back. He is the starting quarterback now for the Patriots, and they look like they haven't lost anything. I mean, they're still 3-1 right now, still one of the best teams in the NFL. So, Tom Brady retires, and the Patriots are still one of the top teams. Dolphins at 3-1. That's a surprise because they were the worst team in Madden last year, in the first year of the franchise. So they're off to a good start. The Jets 2-2, and the Bills 1-2-1. And the AFC West, the Raiders in first place, 1-1. The Chiefs 1-2, so they're off to a slow start, only scoring 69 points in the first 3 games of the season. The Chargers 1-3, and Denver 0-4. I mean, they've got one of the worst offenses that I've seen in year 2 of this franchise. We'll go to the NFC. Lions are at 2-2, Vikings 1-3, Bears 1-3, and the Packers 1-3. So the Packers started out last year 11-0, and they've only won 2 games since then. So kind of coming back down to earth a little bit, I guess. But NFC South, of course, Falcons are at 4-0, Saints 3-1. Carolina rebounding from the 0-2 start to win a couple games back to back to get back to 500 at 2-2. Buccaneers 1-2. NFC East, the Redskins at 2-1. Eagles and Cowboys 2-2. Giants, they were the surprise of the NFL last year, winning the NFC East. They cut Eli Manning in the preseason last year, and Daniel Jones took them to the playoffs. But you can see they're off to a slow start this year at 1-3, but still very much alive in that division. The NFC West, the Rams 4-0. The Seahawks bouncing back from a 5-win year last year. They're at 3-1. And then the Cardinals 1-3, and the 49ers 1-3. So those are the NFL standings. We'll kind of look at the stats for the Panthers. You can see 8th in total offense, 10th in total defense, 18th in points scored, and 3rd in points allowed. So the defense is still looking strong. The offense had a couple of uh, down weeks in week 2 and 3, but they scored 31 points in week 1 and 27 points in week 4. So as the season moves along, we'll see if Carolina is closer to weeks 1 and 4 as far as the offense goes, or closer to weeks 2 and 3. But you can see the top individual leaders for the Panthers. Cam Newton is 6th in the NFL in passing. He's already over 1,100 yards passing. Christian McCaffrey, 327 yards rushing. He's got 2 touchdowns. And DJ Moore, off of just 19 catches, is 4th in the NFL in receiving yards. And he's also got 3 touchdowns. So DJ Moore is off to a fantastic start as we look at Cam here. 70% completions. He is off to a great start for the Panthers. 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Rushing again, Christian McCaffrey, 327 yards. Rushing, good for 4.5 yards a carry. And he's got 2 rushing touchdowns. Jordan Scarlett's got a touchdown. 83 yards rushing, and Cam Newton not running as much as he used to the last couple of years, but still 53 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. And Greg Olsen had that wild fumble recovery, which is they're going to credit him with a rushing touchdown on that play. That was a wild play just this last week against the Chicago Bears. DJ Moore, of course, 19 catches, 379 yards, 20 yards a catch average so far this year. 95 yards a game and 3 touchdowns. Curtis Samuel, he's off to a slower start. He's still averaging, look at these averages. He's averaging 21 yards a catch, though. Just no touchdowns yet. He's not getting the same amount of targets as he got last year. And, of course, Christian McCaffrey leads the team in receiving with 30 receptions, 192 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. So Christian McCaffrey got off to that slow start last year. Of course, he dealt with injury. Didn't score a touchdown until after the bye week, which was week 7 last year. But you can see he's already got 5 touchdowns in the first 4 games. Jermaine Kearse, he's here on a 1-year deal to be the number 3 receiver. He's got 9 catches for 129 yards and a touch. Greg Olsen still playing in his 14th season with the Panthers. Not nearly as dominant a tight end as he used to be, but he's still getting, he's still making some plays. 8 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown for him. We'll look at the defense here. Luke Kuechly leading the team in tackles with 34. 4 tackles for loss. He's got a sack, and he's got 5 pass deflections and 3 forced fumbles. And we'll look at the sack leader, Brian Burns and K'Wan Short, both with 3 sacks. But Brian Burns, he's off to another good start here in his sophomore season, looking to build upon his Rookie of the Year, Linebacker of the Year, and Pro Bowl season from last year. Ziggy Ansah, we picked him up on a 1-year deal. He's got 2 sacks. Daniel Linder, the rookie, has got 2 sacks, and Luke Kuechly's got the other sack. Interceptions-wise, Shaq Thompson's got 2. Melifonwu has got 2. So those are the only 2 players that have interceptions for us so far. We'll look at kicking, of course. Josh Lambo, we made the trade to acquire him. Got off to a bad start against Denver, missing 2 extra points and a field goal. He's 6 for 9. Of course, he made all his kicks against the Bears, and it was just so nice during that game to have a kicker who actually makes kicks. You're seeing touchdowns actually being 7 points instead of just 6. And then that was a nice change of pace to just have a good kicking game. 12 for 14 on extra points. So the only 2 he's missed were from his first game against Denver. We'll look at a couple of the league leaders here before we do some upgrades. Andrew Luck leading the NFL in passing. Of course, he's not retired in Madden because I started this game before he retired, before they made their roster update. He's got 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, we got him. We got to face him this week. He's number 2 in passing with 1,260 yards. He's completing 72% of his passes, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Look at Baker Mayfield. I mean, 76% completions, 12 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. Matt Ryan, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's the reigning MVP, even though the Falcons only won 7 games last year. But they are looking strong this year with a strong 4-0 start. Drew Brees, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Here's Cam, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers still playing, still getting it done. Josh Allen, who had a great year last year for the Bills, he's off to a pretty good start. Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins, he's only got 6 touchdowns and to 3 interceptions. Kyler Murray, in his sophomore season, he is looking better with 12 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So that is a look at the top. As you can see, Jacoby Brissett, 974 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. What is his overall? He's a 73 overall. So he's looking like just picking up right where Tom Brady left off. Russell Wilson, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's surprising. Trubisky, Dak, Josh Rosen starting for Miami, getting them off to a 3-1 start this year. Teddy Bridgewater is getting the starts for the Giants. I wonder if Daniel Jones is hurt. So that's interesting. Marcus Mariota. So those are just rounding out the quarterbacks here. Rushing wise, Le'Veon Bell is leading the league in rushing, 449 yards, 6 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt for Baltimore, he's got 432 yards and 2 touchdowns. Todd Gurley, Chris Carson, Leonard Fournette, and there is Christian McCaffrey with 327 yards rushing, of course, 2 touchdowns. Melvin Gordon's got 300 yards. Devonta Freeman, who signed with the Colts in the offseason, has got 300 yards. Philip Lindsay, he's got 289 yards. He had a big game against us in week 3. Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, only 280 yards rushing. So those are some of the leaders in rushing. We'll look at receiving here. Michael Thomas leads the way with 393 yards and 3 touchdowns. Devontae Adams has got 383 yards and 4 touchdowns. Julio Jones, 382 yards, 3 touchdowns. And there is DJ Moore with 379 yards and 3 touchdowns. And we'll look at some of these other players here. Stephon Diggs, Jarius Wright, who was with Carolina last couple years. He's looking like he's having a good year with Indianapolis. So the Colts taking our old wide receivers and making them look good. Njoku, I guess, 299 yards receiving. Josh Gordon, 296 yards. And that's a kind of a look. Odell Beckham, he's still getting it done. So that's just a look at, there's Curtis Samuel. So that's just a look at the receiving leaders. We'll look at some defense here. Ryan Shazier, back from his spinal injury, he's leading the NFL in tackles. You can see Luke Kuechly's right up there with 34. Jalen Smith, Sean Lee, who went from Dallas, he goes to the Eagles and is playing very well. So there's some of the tackle leaders, sack leaders. Donta Hightower's got 6.5. Devin Kennard's got 6.5. Jarrell Casey's got 4. Myles Garrett for the Browns has 4. A lot of guys here with 4. Khalil Mack, he had 2 against us this past week. Brian Burns with 3. So a lot of guys with 3 and 2.5. So interception leaders, Stephon Gilmore leading the way there. CJ Mosley's got 3 as well. Melifonwu and Shaq Thompson. So that's a look at that. We'll look at some kicking stats here. Never mind. So we got some upgrades coming up for the Panthers, and we'll get a look at these. Brian Burns, we're just going to keep working that speed rusher trait, as we'll get 2+2 finesse moves, +2 in zone coverage, so he just keeps getting better and better. DJ Moore, deep threat. He's up to an 85 now. As he gets +3 in awareness, +2 catching traffic, deep route, and release. Eric Reed has got an upgrade. We're just going to keep doing his... Well, actually, let's do hybrid here. So he gets man coverage, press, tackle, and zone coverage. Trent Sherfield, he has been our return specialist this year. Greg Little. We'll just do pass blocker just to keep him a scheme fit. Alex Harmer, one of the few fullbacks left in the NFL. Daniel Linder, the rookie. We're just going to keep working his speed rush. I want him, obviously I don't think he'll ever be as good as Brian Burns, but I really want him to be a solid complement to Burns on the right side. And if he can develop into even just an above average edge rusher, I mean that's going to bode really well for the Panthers. As we got Christian Miller, he's in his 2nd year. I moved him to defensive end. He was a linebacker. I moved him to defensive end at the beginning of this year. Diamond Pete, one of our other rookies, I'm going to work on his field general just to try to make him a scheme fit. Tyler Larson, the backup center. And finally, Dennis Daly, backup right tackle. So those are the upgrades. As you can see at the top, our next 4 games are going to be tough. Well, 3 out of the next 4. We got at Green Bay. Even though they're 1-3, they've still got Aaron Rodgers. They still got Devontae Adams. That offense can still get the job done. And it's on the road in prime time. That's going to be tough. And then we've got the Atlanta Falcons the next week at home. They could potentially be 5-0, so that could be a game that can either help the Panthers, gain some ground, obviously, or can put them in a deep hole with the loss there, especially if we're not able to beat Green Bay. And then you go at the Rams. That's a tough game. And then there's another primetime game against the Buccaneers to round out the first half of the season. So the Panthers only had 1 primetime game all of last year. And you can see right now, including the Bears game, it's 3 consecutive primetime games and 3 out of 4 primetime games. So, yeah, a lot of national exposure for the Panthers. But I'm going to get off of here now. That's a look at the first quarter of the season. Thank y'all for watching. Please subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, and I'll see y'all next week in Green Bay.